Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is McKay Allen. I'm the content manager at Log My Calls, and we're really excited you're here today. We host these webinars once, sometimes twice a week, with marketing experts from around the country, I should say. And there is no greater expert than Michael Fleischner, who's joined us today. I'll introduce Michael in a moment, but first let's talk about just a few ground rules of how the webinar works. First, the webinar is being recorded, so you'll get an email tomorrow morning that will have the recording attached to it. We encourage you to share that recording with everybody, to post it on social media, and watch it again. Second, we also encourage you to ask questions during the webinar. Just type those into the little question bar on your GoToWebinar screen there, and at the conclusion of the webinar, I'll read those questions aloud to Michael, and he'll address those, as many as possible, before the hour is up. The only other thing to mention, just to give you a little bit of background, about Log My Calls, is we host these webinars for a couple of reasons. First, they're a really great way to provide useful content to you, and that's the primary reason, is just to provide useful information. You can see all of these webinars on our website, logmycalls.com. And then right in the middle of your screen, a little bit towards the bottom, you're going to see a little TV called Webinar. It's going to have the word webinar on it. Just push that click that, and you'll go to our webinar series page, and there you will see upcoming webinars as well as past webinars that are recorded there. So we encourage you to go there and check out the webinars in the past and future as well. So with that, let's introduce Michael Fleischner. Michael's the CEO of Upward SEO Reputation Management. He's an expert in that space, and it's an increasingly important field, because nothing would sink a business faster than having a bunch of poor reviews and a poor online reputation. And so Michael's going to address those things specifically. Michael literally wrote the book on SEO. He's appeared on the Today Show and a variety of other media outlets discussing online marketing, SEO, reputation management, etc. And he's kind enough to join us today, so we're excited that he's here. And Michael, go ahead.
Hey, McKay, thank you so much. And boy, you lay it on. It's hard to live up to that intro.
I do what I can, Michael. I do what I can.
Yeah. Well, listen, let me just start off by thanking everybody for attending today. I promise I will make it worth your while. As with all good presenters, I leave the real jewels to the end. I'd love for you guys to stay with us. I think, McKay, the plan is I'll present for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll have time to answer questions as they come in. And, of course, if you guys have questions during the presentation, please ask the question, because if you're thinking it, others may be as well. And I want to make sure that you walk away from my presentation with 2 or 3 really tangible things that you can do to improve your own reputation as a professional, but also the reputation of your business or the business that you work for. So if those sound like worthwhile goals, then I think we'll jump right in. But before we do, I definitely want to thank McKay Allen for putting this all together, and for Log My Calls. This is just a great series that they've been doing on webinars, and fantastic content. Other colleagues of mine from the industry speak on these webinars, and I think it's just a great way to learn, because there's no pressure to buy anything. It's just really informational, and it's people who are out there doing it every day who can share some insights that all you need to do is apply 1 or 2, and it can make a difference to your business. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started, and I'm sorry, let's put it in view, and we'll jump right in. So just a little bit about me. McKay mentioned some information with regard to my background. I have authored some books around digital marketing. SEO Made Simple is really the book that McKay has talked about. Now in its 3rd edition, sold all over the world. And I tell that to you not to impress you, but to impress upon you that this is a field that's always changing, right? So any digital marketing, whether it's paid search, whether it's organic search, you just really need to keep informed. And that could be as simple as, subscribing to a newsletter and reading for 10 minutes a day, or it could be attending webinars like this. I think a couple things that I'm most proud of. Obviously, Upward SEO is a company. We're doing more in the rep management space, and we're going to talk about that pretty extensively today. But I've also created an online community called the Scoop Marketing Forum. So if you guys have specific reputation management questions, SEO questions, digital marketing questions, feel free to Google that and join our community. It's completely free. We do have experts in there who can hopefully answer your questions. All right, so let's start with what is online reputation. And, you know, online reputation can mean different things to different people. So I always like to start with kind of a foundational understanding, which is online reputation means getting your content and message online to establish a favorable perception of your company or of you as a brand. So what we mean really, what I mean when I talk about online reputation is control. Because the goal ultimately is to control page 1 of organic search results, so that if something changes about your business, you can change page 1 results and you're not at the mercy of everyone else. This is pretty interesting. A lot of the data out there is showing now that the majority of people, consumers, will hit the internet before either working with a business or buying a product or service. So essentially what that means is that, you know, reputation management could be ignored in the past, but today people are checking you out, they're checking your business out. Specifically, they're researching products, you know, reviews and comments and blog posts and things of that nature. So you can't really underestimate the importance of a clean online reputation. And the other thing, too, is that, you know, I like to think of page 1 as your business card, whether it's for you or your business. And that is really a combination of a lot of things. It used to just be web pages, but now it's not only websites themselves, but images, videos, slides, for those of you who are familiar with SlideShare. So, you know, these are all things we need to think about and consider as we think about the concept of online reputation. I love this little cartoon here. It says, I can't explain it, it's just a funny feeling that I'm being Googled. And the reality is you are, right? Someone is Googling you, either by name, by company, by product, by service that you're offering each and every day. And what they see is really their first impression of you and your brand. So if you're not proactively managing your own business reputation, then obviously others are managing it for you. And, you know, every day we get calls here at Upward SEO where someone says, hey, someone wrote a bad review for me or on my company on Ripoff Report or Twist Consumer or Yelp, and I want to get rid of it. And that's because in many instances the company has not done a good job of what I call reputation marketing. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but really the idea is to proactively manage your reputation as opposed to just responding when there's a negative listing. And of course, consider the implications of every negative review about your business, especially, you know, if that's really all people are finding about you when they search. So again, we want to focus on the positive and proactively manage our reputation. Obviously, companies with a poor online reputation have reported low conversion rates, increased marketing costs, lower profit margins, and I was actually having a conversation with the CEO yesterday, and he said for him it's really all about opportunity costs. So what he doesn't know that we're going to help him quantify is really what is the cost of all the lost business he is potentially not getting as a function of a poor online reputation. Okay, an ounce of prevention is worth a lot of cure. What you see here, and I hope everybody can see that. I'm going to see if I can pull up the tools because I'd like to highlight a few things for you guys. This is an example of someone who has not proactively managed their reputation. And Ascentive is a software company. They sell, you know, products that are designed to, I guess, speed up your computer. And really the point here is that, you know, there's a lot of negative information out there. And of course, If you or I were to see a commercial or hear something on the radio or receive a direct mail piece and just took a second to go out to Google and Google the company name, this is what you would find. And more often than not, you're not going to make a purchase simply because it is so negative. So there are a lot of questions, right? How did it get this way? And more importantly, how can we clean it up? So I'm going to show you how to clean it up. And then I'm going to, if you hang on until the end, I'm going to show you a shortcut on how to clean it up. I'm all about shortcuts. All right, so this is what we do not want, right? Oops. Okay. Here's the other thing to think about, too. When you're dealing with online reputation, the majority of your customers or prospective customers will never get past the first page. I've seen statistics anywhere from 90 to 99% of people only look at the first page. So earlier on in the presentation, I had a bullet that said, think of page 1 as your calling card, and I really can't stress that enough. Some people say, well, look, on page 3, there's a listing for rip-off report or something like that. My personal focus is really page 1, but you also want to consider the first few listings on page 2, because as things change on page 1, keep in mind that those listings that are maybe in the 11th, 12th, or 13th space would move to page 1. So something to think about. Okay, so here's a good example, right? Here's an example of someone who's doing a good job. This is a local hospital, Cooper, who's in Camden, New Jersey. I'm based in central New Jersey. And this is what it should look like, right? So they have proactively done a good job optimizing their website, going out to Google Places, creating a Google Places profile. And you can also see other listings like Indeed, Wikipedia, Twitter, also some press that has appeared on page 1. So if I'm choosing between hospitals, and I look at one that had results like the previous slide, even though that wasn't a hospital, or something like we're looking at here, obviously the choice is simple. So I'm going to show you how to kind of create this type of look with your page 1 results. Now, I'm not sure why this isn't coming off here. Let's see if I can clear this. There we go. And the first question is how your reputation is formed. Because if you know how it's formed, then we can do something about it. So there are a few ways that your reputation is created, and that is in terms of search engine rankings. So a number of sites allow people to share reviews and commentary. That could be something as simple as Yelp to a blog or blog commenting. So that often shows up on page 1 or could show up on page 1. Online reviews and citation sites. So these are sites that are kind of in between, and I know I used Yelp as an example, but these are sites that are more like Bing and Urban Spoon and things of that nature. Let's see here. Oh, and of course, in addition to those types of sites, which are citations, we call those citations, are other social media sites. And social media sites have gained a lot of influence over the years. So we're going to actually show you a way to leverage social media sites to really get your reputation in good order. Of course, the cost of bad reputation, we mentioned earlier, the majority of consumers are researching products online. People are, often searching with, are searching for your brand. And the question I often get is, well, how many people search for my brand, and how do I get at the cost of managing my brand? Perhaps you're a marketing person or an IT person, and you're trying to encourage your company to invest in remediating your brand reputation issues. How do you do that? I like to go to the Google AdWords keyword tool and just search your name or search your company's name, and it'll tell you how many searches per month are being done on that name. And you have to ask yourself the question, which we all do as consumers, would you buy from a company that has negative online reviews, negative press, or maybe they don't have any reviews? I was talking to a friend recently about a restaurant. He had done some research, and he went out, looked at a restaurant, and it had absolutely no reviews. And he said, hey, I think it's an expensive restaurant. I'm not taking a chance. So again, you need to proactively manage your reputation, and I like to call that reputation marketing because you're being proactive in terms of shaping that reputation. All right, so how to manage your online reputation. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk through kind of the big picture, and then at a more granular level, what are those tangible things that we can start to do to manage reputation. Successful online reputation, it really all begins with prevention, but even if your reputation today is an absolute mess, we're going to cover how to clean it up pretty quickly. Build your online reputation before the storm. Focus on your centers of influence socially and locally, and we're going to talk in great length about social and local because in these two areas you can generally see the greatest improvements the quickest. Be congruent with your branding and messaging. One of the things that Google looks at on a pretty regular basis, a core aspect of their algorithm, is this concept of consistency. And the reason they do that is because if you're a legitimate business, chances are anyone who's talking about you online refers to you in a similar way. Established businesses don't move addresses every year. They don't have tons of different phone numbers, so on and so forth. And it's important when you're managing your reputation to think about consistency, not only in terms of your name, address, and phone number, but other things that you're talking about when you refer to your business. Maybe it's a product line. Maybe it's certain promotional items that you have available. You want to refer to those on a consistent basis. The other thing to keep in mind, which is a place that most companies fall down, is they don't give people a place, an easy place to vent or talk to someone to help with an issue or concern. And that's probably the #1 reason why people go online and complain. Other than maybe having a competitor complain about you inappropriately or without merit, one of the top things is simply that people are going online to vent and complain because no one will listen to them. So one of the key takeaways from today is for you and your business, think about if you are an unhappy customer, how many ways are you giving them to solve their problem? Is the 800 number easy to find on your website and in emails? Is there a clear customer service number or a personal relationship with a customer service agent? Is there a forum? Are there frequently asked questions? What are all those things that you can do to diffuse the situation before it escalates? And of course, you want to fill voids in your Google reputation. So specifically here, I'm talking about Google Places, making sure there are reviews, and asking and encouraging customers to leave reviews because that's going to crowd out any negative voices. That will happen. As long as you're a business doing business in 2013, you will have something negative said about your business. But if it's small in comparison to all the positives, it really does mitigate your issue. All right, so how to manage your online reputation? Well, once your reputation has been compromised, and now we're talking about someone who comes to us and says, hey, somebody left a bad review, or I see that ripoff report is showing as a second result when you Google my name, then what you really need to do is you need to first stop and assess the full scope of what the concerns and issues are. Is it just a single listing? Is it multiple listings? Maybe they're not yet appearing on page 1. And if so, then you really need to move through the steps, and they are as follows. The first is really to review all of your existing results and determine how best to respond. So in some situations, if somebody leaves a bad review, you could, in many instances, leave a corporate response. The other thing that you could do is you could look to solicit more positive responses to perhaps push that down. So each situation is unique, but the overall goal is the same, which is to really take a specific look at that negative and what you can do about that negative. The other thing to do is to look at company assets that you have, which would be digital assets, and that could be social media accounts, it could be press releases, it could be videos or images, and optimize those to appear on page one. And again, today I'm not talking about specific optimization techniques, although I will talk about some specific reputation management strategies, but the goal would obviously to be assessing what you already have and make sure that they're fully optimized. And then, of course, you want to improve the rankings of those assets, and that can be done through strategic link building in many instances as the primary way. And then, of course, continually adding new content via social and other things can always influence rankings of assets. And then, of course, by getting those ranked higher, you're pushing down negatives. So, again, I'm going to show you an effective way to do this, but the key is to make sure that you're assessing where you are, you're assessing what resources you have available, and then you're putting together a program to increase or improve the rankings of the positives and push down the negatives. And, of course, you want to monitor that on a regular basis. And, as we referred to earlier, protect against future attacks. And that really comes down to reputation marketing, where, again, you're soliciting feedback from your best customers and getting that information online. So the key, have a comprehensive plan and really attack it from different angles. So what I'm going to share with you right now is the traditional approach to reputation management. And the reason I want to go through this is by understanding the traditional approach, the basic blocking and tackling, you're going to appreciate some of the newer strategies, shortcuts, new methodologies to really manage page one results around your product name, your brand name, even your personal brand. Now, I like to refer to the traditional approach as boring. This is a boring, long process, but it's a lot like learning to do division longhand. So those like me who are old learn to do math the long way, right? We had to do everything by hand. But when the calculator came along and we could solve in just a few seconds, we appreciated it much more and better understood what was kind of going on in the background. So I'm only going to spend probably 3 minutes on the next few slides, but it'll give you a sense of what this traditional reputation management approach looks like. All right, so it's a 4-step process. Somebody says they have a reputation management issue, so you need to go in and evaluate really the depth and breadth of the issue, put a strategy together, execute on a plan, again, to maybe remediate individual reviews if you can respond or want to respond, as well as increasing the rankings of positives and pushing down negatives. And then, of course, it's an ongoing process, right, because new content is always being published about you online. So the goal is really to control all or most of page one rankings. And again, the reason we want to do that is if we can control them as things change with us, with our business, with our products, we can also change those rankings. If someone, or what is contained within those rankings, if someone else owns them, we can't touch them. All right, so 1, evaluate. So what you really need to do, and I mentioned this earlier, you need to look at not just what's showing up on page 1, but really the first few pages of Google. And I like to do that because oftentimes I might find that there was a video that one of my employees put up, or maybe a social media account that is currently ranking. It's just not ranking on page 1. So you really want to look at the first few pages of Google results for positives and negatives. Really take a close look at those first 2 pages, because if there's some negative listings on page 1, maybe you can push up listings from page 2 to page 1. And then evaluate for the likelihood that it will rank well on page 1. And the assets that generally rank well are those which are more authoritative. So if you have a listing in Wikipedia, or you have a Facebook account, or a LinkedIn account, those types of assets carry a lot of weight. And if, let's say, you have a Facebook account or company page, and it's sitting in position 11, so that would be the top of page 2, you may want to work to optimize that asset, because it would be easier to get that to page 1 than, say, a web page that's much further down, on search results. Second step, put a strategy together, right? So based on what you're seeing, what's the plan going to be? Which assets are you going to leverage? Which are you going to leave behind? If there are negative reviews, what are you going to do about them? Are you going to respond or try to push them off page one? Then execute your plan. And a lot of that has to do with search engine optimization. It may also include purchasing pay-per-click ads to push down listings below the fold. A lot of research has come out to say that many people don't even look below the fold on their computers, so they only do a search, and whatever they can see, that's what they tend to click through on. There are things, for example, we just did with a client, product listing ads, which push down organic listings even further. So a lot of it is talking through a strategy, either with your SEO company, your marketing team, others who understand really that digital marketing world. And then, of course, you want to deploy those search engine strategies on a regular basis to continue to optimize and promote those online listings that are favorable. And, of course, the fourth step of this long-winded, traditional process is to analyze and refine. So you want to track where each of those assets are on a regular basis. I wouldn't necessarily do it daily or weekly, but certainly every couple of weeks, every month, you want to make sure that, the winners are moving up and the losers are moving down. All right? So now we're going to talk about a little shortcut, because the traditional method, although it works and it's effective, takes a long time. So if you're in a situation where many people come to us and they say, look, I've got rip-off report on the front page, I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars on advertising. It could be direct marketing, it could be DRTV, it could be online advertising. We need to remove those negatives, and we need to do it quickly. So the quickest way to do it is with social and local. So we're going to spend a few minutes taking a deeper look at this because I feel that today, given the latest Google algorithm updates, Penguin 2.0, and now they're talking about changes even since then, Penguin 3.2, that Google is placing more emphasis on social and local, and you can get some pretty amazing results quite quickly. So let's look at really the best places. The first one is with social. And with social, do an assessment. Do you have social accounts? If you do, optimize them. What do I mean? What I mean is that if you have social accounts, you should fill out as much information on your profile as humanly possible. So an example might be Google Places. I know businesses that all they do is put their name, address, and phone number, but there are places to upload images. There are places to put your store hours. Even if you're an online business, I would complete all of that information. The more information you have, the more attractive you are to the Google algorithm. The other thing you want to do, too, is get active with your social accounts. So if you have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, if you have the primary accounts, then go out and buy a subscription to Hootsuite for $9.99 a month, and go ahead and load in social tweets. Use that platform or other platforms that are similar and inexpensive that you can use to post to your social media accounts on a regular basis. And when you do, you'll find that they rise to the top of your search results. These are the accounts that I like. I like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, as well as Google Plus or Google Places. Pinterest is really now kind of making a run in organic search, and SlideShare. So you might have a presentation like the one we're doing here, and I encourage you to share those presentations, and especially do it on social networks that have authority and weight, because they will show up in search results. And then the other thing is, think about your niche. Are there other sites in your niche that tend to come up on top? So we do work for a couple of hospitals and medical practices, and health grades always seems to come up again and again and again. So we make sure that all the doctors are listed, their profiles are fully filled out and completed, so on and so forth. And that generally tends to do well by itself without any link building, without any SEO hocus pocus. And by doing that, you are managing that asset. So it really goes back to that control. So that's really the first thing. And you can see here, I just did a quick search on my name, Michael Fleischner. And what's interesting is what comes up are a lot of these social media accounts. So Goodreads, Facebook, Google+, and some of the more specific sites I mentioned, like Crunchbase, which covers different companies and things of that nature. Even the last one is a social media account, which is slideshare.net. I mentioned about uploading presentations. So don't underestimate the power of social, and at the same time, you really need to give it some focus. A lot of people just poo-poo it, or they say, hey, yeah, I have an account, and they put their profile picture and walk away. I'm encouraging all of you to get active with social, even if it's slow at the beginning and ramps up over time. The other thing, too, is it's not only about individuals, it's about businesses, right? So here's a great example just with my company name. Not only does my website come up, which obviously is important for your company name, but it's the social accounts that you're seeing. It's the Facebook group, it's the LinkedIn group, it's the LinkedIn page. Because these things have so much authority and just organic weight, you're better off putting your energies into optimizing these social assets as opposed to going out and creating a new website or a new microsite or new digital assets, which are going to take a lot of time to rank well. All right? So the second place to start is with social. I'm sorry, I know it says social, it should say local. So social is the first, local SEO is second. Now, why is local SEO so important? Well, today, Google is looking for authoritative websites to pass votes, essentially, because Google is a voting machine, to certain other websites. And what I mean by that is a significant change in the Google algorithm is that now it's basing a lot of the results, approximately a third of the algorithm today, is based on this concept of citation. And citations are essentially what used to be the yellow pages or yellow page business listings, but now they're much more dynamic online. They have images, they have, if you're a restaurant, you can post a menu. There's a lot more robust information. So Google goes out, they spider, dozens of these citation sites. They look to see that your information is there, that it's accurate and consistent across all these sites, just like we talked about in the beginning of the presentation. If it's not accurate and consistent, then they're passing less authority to your website. Because again, if you're a legitimate business, chances are you're not moving year over year. You're referred to in a similar way, regardless of what business listing site has you listed. Your phone number is consistent, so on and so forth. Now, the only caveat with this is, once you are using local SEO, you really have to listen. And you have to listen because right now about a third of all searches, a third or more of all searches are local. The good news is that approximately 80+%, depending on which source you rely on, of people using local search will take an action. That means they're going to call you, they're going to visit your website, they're going to fill out a form, or they may leave a review. So you want to be careful with local because you need to be in tune with it, listening, monitoring what's going on, and if there is chatter or there are conversations, you want to be engaged with those conversations. So as I mentioned, a year ago or years ago, it was the yellow pages, then it went to kind of these business listings. Now they're called citations, much more dynamic. And one of the reasons why citations do so well, whether you have a website or not, is because they are robust with different types of media, photos, videos, seasonal products, special offers. And these are sites that more and more people are using. So even today, if you are a Yahoo user and you're using Yahoo on your mobile phone, chances are you're using Yahoo Local or Bing Local or Foursquare or Super Pages. Even Google search results now are integrating local as a key component. Now, why is that important to reputation management? Well, local citations not only impact your Google Places listing, but they also appear in natural search results. And this is the shortcut we're going to use to really control page 1 rankings. So citations are considered to be one of the top 3 determinants of rank today. This is something that's very new, especially with the last Penguin update. So to the degree that you can get involved with social and now local, you can definitely be way out in front of the competition and proactively manage what type of information appears out there, especially on page 1 of search results. So this just really shows you the evolution on the left. You know, it used to be just being integrated on a map like MapQuest, but now a lot of these local listings have expanded capabilities where you can include much more information about your website. So this is an example. And if you go to the very top, you'll notice that the search wasn't just on my company name. It was actually for location data, right? So it says Upward SEO in Hamilton, New Jersey, where we're based. And you can see what comes up, which is really interesting. Even with the company name, Upward SEO, that first listing, you're also seeing Google Places integrated. So again, it's relying on its own citation to provide information to the searcher. But if you look at that second, third, fourth, fifth result, they are all citations. So, you know, again, if you're in a situation where you're trying to push things off page 1, these citations, just like the social media accounts, are incredibly powerful, especially around local search, but they also integrate on national search as well. So the platform that we used, which is great, will actually, once you publish your information through the platform, will push the exact same information out to 50 of the top most popular local search engines instantaneously. So oftentimes we can achieve results in as little as 7 days. And over time, as more people interact with these listings, they gain even more weight, which really helps to keep your first page results in your control. All right, so 2 great places to finish. Of course, you want to be focused on reputation marketing, right? Proactively managing your reputation. And of course, you're always welcome to go through the traditional methodology, which can be a long process. And I don't want to say that that's a negative thing. We do that for a lot of clients. But if you're in need of a more immediate solution, then I strongly encourage you, again, to really focus on social and focus on local citations, because that is really today what Google is favoring. So caveat emptor, that can change. But today, this is really what the Google algorithm is focusing on. So if you want to, you know, take that route, again, with social, do an assessment. You know, do you have accounts on those major social sites? And if you do, are they optimized? Do you need to get accounts? If you do, go out and develop accounts. And more importantly, continue to be engaged with those accounts on a regular basis. And then finally, in your niche, are there specific sites that you should be on? Focus on local optimization. Get covered on those top citation sites. Of course, you can always do that manually, but there are also tools and platforms that can help you manage that inexpensively and quickly. Consider your own review engine. We didn't talk about this at length, but one of the things that we've done for companies that have concerns around managing reviews is work with them to create their own review engine to publish reviews proactively. And then finally, make sure to listen and respond to the noise that's out there. Because, and I think I mentioned this earlier, what tends to turn into the biggest issue or issues for a company isn't so much one individual negative review. It's a negative review or negative comment or bad customer experience that goes unanswered. And customers look for a way to vent that frustration, and unfortunately they can do that easily online. So keep those 2 concepts in mind. And, you know, with that, I will go ahead and take any questions and, you know, see if you have any concerns around your reputation management. So, McKay, I think I'll hand it back to you to field some questions.
Great. Michael, that was great stuff. I think it's a regardless of the size or type of business. I mean, it's a major issue. Even big companies, if I go on a company's site and I'm trying to buy a product and there's poor reviews or there's people talking poorly about a specific product, and then I think it maybe even is a bigger issue for smaller companies where, if I'm going to hire somebody for a professional service, like a lawyer, for example, or if I'm going to a restaurant or whatever, I mean, a few negative things said or showing up on Ripoff Report that can sink a business faster than about anything. So thanks for all the info. We've got about 15 minutes for questions, everybody. And the questions are starting to flow in. So I'm going to ask you this placeholder, Michael, as more questions come in here. And we've got a few coming in already, so we encourage you to ask those. But first, what is it seems like you're saying people have been and are currently sort of approaching this whole idea wrong. They maybe have some old school traditional ways of viewing it. How widespread is that problem? How many people are actually doing it correctly, overcoming the negative reputation, or how many people are doing it wrong, I guess is my question.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I know, McKay, you and I have talked about this from time to time. The challenge that we generally have is someone may say, hey, I have a problem, but they assume that someone else is taking care of it, right? So they might have a couple people on the marketing team who are taking care of social media. They may have some people working on the website who are doing quote-unquote SEO. But the reality is that, as we mentioned earlier, things are changing so quickly that the techniques, even that we used to recommend to our clients a year ago, we're not recommending anymore for a couple of reasons, and you really touched on it. If you're a small business, then the stakes in some ways are much higher because it doesn't take a lot for someone to say, oh, I'm not going to use the cleaner that's 5 minutes from my house. I'm going to use the cleaner that's 10 minutes from my house because, I saw all these online negative reviews. When you're a larger company, your product set might be so diverse that, a couple of bad reviews on a product really isn't going to make a difference. But at the same time, what tends to happen is the stakes are much higher with the larger businesses. So the Fortune 1000 companies that we deal with, they're the ones who are seeing Ripoff Report, show up on their results. And the small mom and pop companies that we're working with, they're the ones who see a bad review on Yelp. So I think it's a matter of scale, but more direct to your question, I think that it's changing so rapidly so that even if someone thinks they're doing a good job today, you need to stay on top of these things in order to make sure that page one result always looks its best.
That's great. All right, good. We've got a couple of questions in now, and I want to run through a couple of these with you, Michael. So we have a question from Andy who says, first of all, do you solicit reviews from people, positive reviews, and how do you go about doing that? Is that an important part of this, and how do you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andy, and there are a couple of ways to do it. It really all depends on what type of review you're looking for. So I'll give you a good example. We did some work with a service that had some negative reviews on Indeed. Indeed is a job site, and they were appearing on page one. Actually, there were two separate listings on page one from Indeed that were negative. And of course, if I'm a disgruntled employee, of course I'm going to write a negative review. Now, what I found out in working with the company is that they do internal surveys on a pretty regular basis, I think twice a year, among their employees. And they never really asked their employees if they could publish positive reviews to the web. So we worked with them to change the process, and they were able to address that Indeed issue pretty quickly. If you're a small business and you have that question like, hey, how should I handle reviews? Should I ask people for it? There are a couple of ways to handle that. One is, you could print up business cards with a URL that say, hey, please go out. Did you have a good experience? Go out to Yelp, Google Places, whatever the case might be. Here's the URL. We'd love to hear from you. But what we like to do is we like to encourage businesses to think about the middle ground. The middle ground is, can people give you feedback? And if that feedback is positive, then reach out to them and ask them to leave a review where you really want that review, which could be Google Places, which could be Yelp, which could be some of these other sites. And there are dozens and dozens of ways to do that. That could be a whole separate webinar. But you know, some businesses build review websites. Others just ask for emails or email their customers and ask for feedback. And then, of course, ask for permission to publish that online.
That's great. There's a question here from Julie. This is an interesting question. And if you know the answer to this, or if I did, I think if anybody did, we would be extraordinarily wealthy. She says, my Facebook business page was on page 1, then suddenly disappeared. Why? That's a really good question, Julie. I think if someone can nail exactly why that happens down, we'd be much wealthier. Any thoughts on that question, Michael?
Yeah, so things are always changing, right? So it's not just what happened to that page. It's what's happening to all the other listings on the first couple of pages. So, you know, we'd have to look at the specific situation. But I think what it does is just reinforce the fact that you can't be a one-trick pony. That's why we always say, you know, look at multiple social accounts. Use a tool that allows you to publish once, but push that content out on multiple sites to make it easy to manage. And why, you know, we really feel that local optimization is so important today because, again, at least using the platform we're familiar with, you can publish it once and push it out across 50 of the top sites so that if, you know, one site falls off, it's really not going to make a difference because right behind that you've got, you know, super pages and local.com and 411 and all these others.
Makes sense. All right, let's go through a couple more of these. All right. So Kara asks a question. She says, we've been told that Yelp actually hides positive reviews from users who have no other reviews, which can ultimately hurt the profile if you ask people to review Yelp and they aren't Yelp users. Do you know anything about Yelp, how that all works, and what they do with reviews, positive and negative?
Yeah, you know, I don't have that specific information. I haven't heard that previously. But, you know, the goal with any review site, whether it's Yelp or even Google Places, is to get a minimum of 6 reviews. Now, the reason the magic number is 6 is because, you know, and I'm more familiar with Google Places, you know, once you hit 6 reviews, that definitely starts to influence your ranking on organic search. So, you know, with Yelp, let's say someone, let's assume they are hiding positive listings, they would only be doing that for a certain period of time. So again, if you could solicit feedback from your customers and have multiple reviews, that really shouldn't be an issue. And again, why you want to diversify, right? You can't put all your eggs in one basket. And quite honestly, you know, I get this question all the time, which is better, you know, one 5-star review or you know, a review score of 3 out of 5, but there are 15 people reviewing. I always say go after the 3 out of 5, right? Because it's more believable, it's credible, and people are just looking to make sure that there aren't a lot of negative reviews. I think whether you come out as neutral or positive is always positive. So again, just a personal philosophy. Folks may disagree with me, but you know, I think that's really the key.
That's great. A couple other quick questions here from Andy. Says, would you consider adding a note to your email signature, for example, asking for reviews? My personal take on that would be yes. Provide a link to where you want them to review precisely. That's a great way to do it. Any way you can generate more positive reviews, I think, is probably a good thing. Would you agree with that, Michael?
Yes, but I would append that too, McKay, and I would say that I would add a feedback link. Because if someone has something negative to say, I want to hear about it before they post that online. So, you know, questions, question marks, feedback, exclamation point, you know, let us know. And then oftentimes you can really discover some issues before they become problems.
That's great. And the other question we've had a couple times on here, I've heard horror stories about people trying to positively review their own business, and that can hurt. The tools seem to be getting smarter in that respect. So those are good questions to have. I've heard those types of stories. Have you heard those as well, Michael?
Yeah, so, I think the key here is that you want to be genuine. So, some sites actually, like, for example, on Amazon, if you're publishing a book or selling a product, oftentimes you can leave a description or leave a comment, and you just want to be very transparent and say, for example, hey, I'm the author of SEO Made Simple, and here are the positives about this book and why you should buy it, as opposed to, creating 50 stealth Amazon accounts and going out and creating your own reviews, because, a lot of it's IP driven, and, these are big companies with advanced technology, and it doesn't take much for them to say, hey, you're out of bounds and we're taking you down.
That's great. Well, great. I think we're out of time, Michael, but I do want to see if you had any final thoughts on just this whole concept of reputation management. Maybe a couple quick takeaways that we can start on immediately, or ways we can improve, in the immediate future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say to everybody who attended today, thank you again so much for listening. This idea of reputation management is only going to get more and more important as companies and individuals need to manage their online brand. So what you can do is really be proactive. Start today. Don't wait, until that negative, nasty review appears. If there is a negative, nasty review and you need to address it, again, now's the time to really stop and think about what will be best for the long term. So definitely give that some thought. Like I said, in terms of insiders, tips and strategies, focus on social, focus on local. Of course, if you guys would like more information on any of that, I encourage you to reach out to us here at Upward SEO, or go to the forum and ask other people what they're doing to manage those things, because I think right now they are the most important things to focus on. And again, it doesn't have to take a lot of time or energy, but it certainly requires some attention. And with that, I'll wish everyone luck and encourage you guys to continue to check in and see how things change.
Awesome. That's great information, Michael. And as we said at this outset, this webinar is recorded, so if you missed something, make sure you go back and watch it again and share it with people in your organization and on social media as well. And then a final word, if you want to get in touch with Michael, there's his email address right there. If you want more information about Log My Calls, just go to logmycalls.com. You can see the past webinars, see future webinars, and also learn more about your tool that will help you track which of your marketing campaigns is generating phone calls and which are not generating phone calls, which is useful information. So thank you again for your time, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful remainder of your Thursday and a great Friday and weekend. Michael, thanks again for doing it. We really appreciate it, sir.
McKay, thanks so much, and thanks to Log My Calls.
Great. Everybody have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.